fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
The field is rolling on the back straightaway.
Get ready, this is going to be tight. Out of turn 4, ladies and gentlemen. The All-American 400 is underway.
Gotta be careful, the bumps here can get you every time. Entering the corner, exiting the corner.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new series on SimSpeed TV. It is the XSRL Coffee Cup, presented by Gearhead Coffee, and we are taking the Xfinity cars for a spin this season, and we are kicking things off in Alabama at Talladega Super Speedway for 85 laps of flat-out full throttle 2, 3, 4 wide action around this enormous track, and we're going stage racing as well. So we're going to see plenty of good racing all race along. You'll see it all live right here on SimSpeed TV. My name is Ryan Jones, and alongside me, I've got Jay Kennedy. And Jay, we're both looking forward to this one. It's finally here, and now we get to see some of the best drivers from B Open competition in iRacing. They battle in a league together.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. Looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Some very, very big names in the B Open side of things running in this series, and some names that are very, very familiar to us as well from NIS action. It's going to be very, very competitive. They ran their test race last week, their invitational, their exhibition race, and ran 122 laps green from start to lap 122 at Las Vegas. So we're expecting some very, very clean racing. These guys all have a lot of respect for each other. The league is very, very strict on retaliation and things like that too. So if there is an incident, we're not going to see the retaliation come back from some drivers towards others. So it means that the racing should be very, very clean and very, very fun and very, very fast.
Very fast indeed. 200 miles an hour plus at this track, and that's without getting into the draft and the pack and all the drama that comes with the pack, such as the big one and your photo finishes that we're probably going to see today, maybe two of them. When we get towards the end of stage 1 at the end of lap 17, they are racing for stage points, so they will be hunting for a good finish there. And then, of course, at the end of lap 85. So only the 2 stages today, as opposed to the 3 you would normally see in real-life competition. But I think this 2-stage format is good because we'll see some decent strategy come into the mix in that second stage. Practice is just about to wrap up, and then drivers are about to head onto the racetrack for qualifying. Normal format for qualifying, as in iRacing, 5 minutes to do 2 laps. Riding the top side for your first out lap and your flying lap, and then hugging the bottom for your what should be the quickest lap of your run. Practice wraps up, drivers get teleported back to pit lane, and so qualifying begins. And with an outlap close to a minute, got to make sure you get out there reasonably quickly. You can't leave it too long because you need to make sure you complete that second lap.
Exactly right, and if you don't get that second lap done, you're going to be a long way back. But in saying that, Talladega, and as we also said at Daytona, two tracks that probably don't matter quite as much as others in regards to qualifying, because it is a little bit easier to get yourself forward through the field. But in saying that, you always want to be at the front for the first race of a broadcasted race as well. So the first race in the broadcasted series for these guys, they'll all want to try and get that first pole position, that first P1 start.
Win and you're in as well. Playoffs at the end of the season. So the difference between finishing first and second is astronomical. And you want to put your best foot forward, don't you? As you said, first time up on the broadcast here. And drivers want to put on a show for us and make a name for themselves, as we are looking now at one of our first drivers out on the racetrack, right up against the safer barrier through the tri-oval, which is not where you'll find the start-finish line, like on 98%, 99% of racetracks in America in NASCAR competition. It's between the tri-oval and turn 1, so keep an eye on that in the run to the line today, as there's Mike Bruno up top, keeping up the wheel as smooth as he can.
Yep, want to keep the wheel as straight as possible and move it as little as possible. Anytime you're moving the wheel back to the right to manoeuvre the car closer to the wall on this first lap, scrubs off speed, and any drop in speed, whether it be a quarter of a mile of an hour, could be enough to drop you 3, 4, 5, 6 positions with how tight this qualifying will be. So very, very crucial to make sure that wheel does not move any more than it has to.
Now he moves the car down the racetrack, using the tri-oval to generate a little bit of extra speed as he comes down the banking. And now he'll hug the yellow line for his final flying lap. His first lap was marginally quicker than Nathan Rue, but you take those first laps with a pinch of salt, really. And it's pretty simple qualifying in terms of skill required to get around him. To do it quickly, you've got to be so good on that steering wheel and so precise with your inputs. The real talent comes into question when we get into the race and we're running in a big pack side by side, many rows deep. I reckon Nathan Rue will cross the line first here, just up the road in the number 20 car. So Nathan Rue's a 53.235. Mike Bruno's a 53.266. So he goes second.
Now Tyler Justice is a place that is.
Yeah, pops ahead of Brian Ammerman, who's in third now. And as Michael Van Osdol goes to the top of the timing sheets. Brian Castle as well pops up there. Only a 53.5 after his flying run. Christopher Cornell is going to get to the line here just before time runs out. What's it going to be? Currently 13th for 53.58. So only goes up to 12th. And it looks like a few drivers are going to opt not to set a qualifying time at all, as is probably pretty normal here on the super speedways for those drivers that want to start at the back and feel the pack out before we get into the thick of the action at Talladega. So that's qualifying done. Let's take a look then at your starting grid for 85 laps around this great super speedway. Michael Van Osdol has got himself the pole, and he will have Brian Castle alongside him on that front row. Trent Ringler starts from third ahead of Callum McNichol in fourth. Nathan Rue and Tyler Justice share row 3. Brian Ammerman starts from 7th and Mike Bruno from 8th. Sean Powell takes up 9th and Mark Egerbroad starts from 10th.
Sheldon Adkins and Travis Manning on row 6. Row 7, Christopher Cornell and Jason Leaney. We've got Matthew Benson, Coda Earman, Ian Culp, Christian, Swenson, and Roger Plott all not putting in times for, as you said, 85 laps around this amazing Talladega Superspeedway.
Big thanks to Gearhead Coffee sponsoring this series, and I checked out their website. I kind of test for their coffee, them being America, us very clearly not being America, but
Can you tell from the accent?
yeah, it's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? But their stuff looks pretty good. Coffee centered towards the Gearhead is the takeaway I've got from their site, and they've got a bit of merchandise and shirts and stuff as well up there. So go check them out and chuck them a like as well. Looks like they've got a pretty big following over on Facebook. There's your weather conditions for today's race. Relatively cool track temp, just 28 degrees Celsius, or rather 83 degrees Fahrenheit for all you Yanks out there. A little bit of wind, a little bit of humidity, and as I'd love to say, no idea what that means for drivers out there. Might give them a little bit of extra speed down the back straight or through the tri-oval, depending on which way that wind is blowing. 85 laps convert as 226 miles, 363 kilometers. That's about 75% the distance of the Xfinity Series race when they came here in real life just a few weeks gone. And the pace car is about to roll off, and we will begin our formation lap.
Also want to say about Gearhead Coffee, they have given us a promo code as well for their website, 10% off. Use the promo code Phase 2 and then the number 10. You get 10% off at checkout, so big thanks to Gearhead Coffee for giving us a promo code to use as well, so even better with the discount.
So we roll off behind the iRacing.com pace truck. Just the one formation lap, because this is a 2.8 mile super speedway. I had to double check that. It's often referred to as the 2.5 milers, aren't they? Daytona and Talladega. But Talladega is the longer of the two. And as a result, it's the fastest of the two. It's also the widest. And that means that you can fit cars 3 wide here pretty comfortably. 2.66 miles, sorry. You can fit cars 3 wide here pretty comfortably. 4 wide is a stretch, but it can be done with the right group of drivers. Do we have the right group of drivers to pull that off today? If we do, I'm not expecting that at the end of the race.
Yeah, I think we'll see some very, very tight action, but I think that the drivers are going to be very, very smart about how to play this race out. They're not going to try and push too hard too early. They're going to work together. You can see a lot of teammates all together, so about 5 or 6 different teams all going to have drivers working together. So those drivers that are in here as independents or privateers are going to have a little bit more of a struggle to work their way forward, but they're probably also going to try and work with some of those teams as well, find who they can work with, work out who they're going to be safe to work with, go forward that way.
Pace truck going to peel off on the exit of turn 4. Remember, start-finish line, it's past the tri-oval, so we have a little bit of a wait. There's not much incentive to be gained from going early at places like this, because if you do go early, you'll get run down when the field picks up your toe, and you'll find yourself going backwards quick smart. So waiting on the green flag for the first race of the season. Green flag is out, and we are racing for the XSRL Gearhead Coffee Cup.
These drivers are already starting to work their way backwards a little bit. They're just finding themselves wanting to drop back a little bit, but it looks like we're going to try and get as single file as we can to start with, and then they'll start to work themselves out. You can see that the 7 car of Tyler Justice finding a nice little gap to work into on that bottom line. Brian Castle, the lead car on the outside row at the moment.
Four car deciding to go up top. That's Brian Ammerman, and he slots in front of Brian Castle. Still, the top 3 are clear on that inside. So a good launch for everyone down on the low side of the racetrack, as we'll get through lap 1 cleanly at Dega, and that's what we like to see. You see a bunch of cars hanging off the back there, not taking themselves right up to the front, just happy to ride around. We know we're going to get a caution at least on lap 17 for our stage break. And that outside now, starting to motor along. Ammerman getting a big push from Brian Castle and Callum McNichol, and seeing that, Sean Powers decided to dive up there as well.
This looks like this outside line may be the preferred line at the moment. The guys are working very, very well together. As you said, Ammerman cutting up to the top, now drops back down. Taking the lead away from Van Osdol. Almost butchered his name early on.
I think you did butcher his name, to be honest.
Look, it wouldn't be a SimSpeed broadcast with me commentating without a butchered name.
Yeah. Good move from Ammerman to get up from a couple cars deep on the inside and then get himself to the front of the field. It looks aggressive from outside, but on the racetrack, it's all reasonably controlled. Once you're clear, you know you've got a window to move down in front of that car or move up in front of that car. At the outside, you mentioned it potentially being the stronger line on these opening couple of laps. It is the easier line to drive because you're putting less input through that steering wheel. It's straighter, so to speak, and so you're able to keep your foot flat to the floor and full throttle for much more around this track without lifting off to avoid the bumper of the car in front. Whereas down low, you'll find a few more checkups and whatnot, which means that through the corners, they've got the inside, it's a shortest route, they prevail through there, but off the exits, the outside has much more momentum, and they carry it all the way down the straights, and that enables them to get clear into the next corner, and sometimes clear enough to dive down, just like Ammerman did.
Yep, exactly right. And one thing about this too, you said it was a bit longer, which means that the radius of the corner is a little bit less than we see at Daytona as well, which means that the outside line is nowhere near as tough as it is. Oh no, wrecking already. Contact
that's
between...
at the front of the field as well, and that's going to take out a whole bunch of cars. And that triggered right at the front. Brian Castle involved. His car rolls backwards down to the grass. Able to keep it going. So the caution comes out on lap number 4. Here is the modem simulation replay on board with Castle. Can't see much but a bumper from that angle. Gets the push from behind into the right rear, and that sends him for a spin. When you bump draft at these tracks, you've got to make sure you're lined up, and unfortunately, the pusher there wasn't quite lined up. And Brian Ammerman, Castle bounced back down into him. He's been able to keep going, but he's got big damage to the right side of his car.
Yeah, big damage to quite a few cars. That was Callum McNichol, who didn't quite hook up that push perfectly straight and just unsettled Castle right in front of everyone else. Very, very disappointed. No doubt Castle will be, but there'll be a few drivers that'll be very, very disappointed with that. See a caution out this early in the race.
Now the big question lies in, do they have a faster pair available to them?
Yeah, we weren't sure on that, so we'll find out in a very, very quick moment.
I hope so, because that took out a whole bunch of cars that were looking very good early on. Ammerman's going to have to pit without a doubt. McNichol's got no front bonnet. I think Van Asdol escaped. Mike Bruno's missing a rear bumper.
Travis Manning dove into the pits early, so he's going to have to get a rear grid restart. Yeah, we'll see whether we do have fast repairs. I don't believe we do, so Ammerman comes in. Looks like everyone will jump into the pits.
Just watching Ammerman here. His right side is beat up. It's been pushed in quite heavily over the right front fender where the tyre is. No fast repair. So he and a lot of other cars are going to have a long road to the end of this race, but I've seen stranger things than wrecked cars winning a race at a super speedway. It happened in real life, actually, earlier this year when Eric Jones won at Daytona in, I think it was the Clash at this very, very start of the season. So we get another couple wrecks. There's every possibility that some beat-up cars could end up leading this race, but there is still quite a few who did escape without damage, at least the top 8 or 9.
We've had 6 cars that decided not to pit under the caution there. Van Osdol continuing on after a change of tyres. One thing too, tyre sets. They only have 4 sets of tyres available as well, so they've got to be a little bit careful around that too. So if some of those drivers have burned up a set of tyres just avoiding the incident there, if we have another couple of cautions like that, they might have to be really, really cautious around tyre management.
4 tyre sets, including the one they start with, so only 3 available to them down on pit road, which means, yeah, you got to be careful. If you pitted now, you're leaving yourself with 2 more sets left in a race that you can't go all the way to the end yet. I'm thinking of fuel tanks around about 30 to 40 laps, maybe closer to 30 than 40. That would be one heck of a stint. Yeah, about 30 laps.
Yeah,
so
about 30, 33
even
or so.
Once that stage break comes out at lap 17, you're still going to need to pit at least twice more. 47. Yeah, I'm right. Math checks out. Are the cogs turning over in your head at the moment, Jay?
100%.
Trying to work it out?
Trying to work it out. I got my pen and paper out, try and do maths as well. It's that's not working very well. It looks like Travis Manning has decided his car is too beat up to continue, so he is done. Tyler Justice just making it out ahead of the pace car to get some damage fixed. He'll come back around. Tyler's actually tuning into the the Facebook stream at the same time. So,
what else are you supposed to do
well,
during a caution break at a big track like this?
I don't know. I think that's a good way to spend it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I wouldn't personally choose to spend my time listening to your voice, but hey, each to their own. Really showing your age as well, getting the pen and paper out for maths. You know, there's a calculator app on your iPhone, yeah? Even your Android.
I'm in the future. I used to be good at maths. I didn't need a calculator, but then I started to do this, and I've lost it all.
Then you got old. So, lights out on the pace truck. We'll go back green next time by. Justice will have to claw his way back to the rear end of the pack, which he should be able to do pretty easily. Good update iRacing made by reducing the length of caution laps or reducing the number of caution laps at these big tracks, because quite frankly, they were absurdly long before that update was made a month or 2 ago now, I think it is. So, casting my eye over the field, top 5 are clean. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Top 10 cars are clean.
It looks like Ammerman got all his damage fixed from that incident, so he looks like he might be okay. That number 4, a little bit of a crinkle in the rear wing, but I don't think that'll hamper his pace too much.
Well, we've still got that big... It's interesting, he's got a big dent in the right side fender, but the actual front of the car is fine, so the air's still going to run over his car nicely.
Yep.
It's just going to get distorted a bit once it gets about a tyre's length into the car, so he might actually escape because of where he got hit. Let me go up through the gears here and get back up to racing speed. That'll give us a good idea of who does and who doesn't have the pace still left in their car. Pace truck gets out of the way. Hopefully not going to see it again till the end of stage 1 at lap 17. As we go racing, and Sean Powell gets on the power early. And that allows Sheldon Adkins to dive straight down to the low side of the racetrack and tuck in line behind him. It leaves Matthew Benton with no one ahead of him, and no one behind him either, so he's all lonely on the outside. He'll have to duck in a header behind Christopher Cornell. Top 6 have broken away. And then Michael Vanistol's got a bunch of cars behind him in 7th. In the background, there you go.
Top 6 were the 6 that didn't pit in that caution either, so that could be a little factor in that. The top 6 all undamaged, brand new, fresh cars. These other guys behind from 7th on back might have a tiny little bit of damage. You can see the back of Mike Bruno's car missing the whole back panel. So a bit of damage in amongst those guys, and good to see that Justice and McNichol, the guys that were mainly involved in that incident, have all got back out there, but Brian Castle's still in the pits as we complete lap 8.
Jason Lenny's car looks like it's just rolled off the truck, so he should be pretty good. He's just worked his way into 7th place, and you can see Van Osdol running the higher line around this track. He's got Ammerman, Ringler, and Rue up there working with him. They work together, they might be able to latch on to the top 6. So long as they do it quickly, because those 6 cars are all lined up down low and not racing each other, which means they will be lapping this track very quickly. As now, without any help, Jason Lanny is no match for the horsepower of 4 cars up top.
Nathan Rue just able to jump ahead of Lanny as well, so in that number 20 car. So single file now, and look at that secondary group. A little bit of working together, and they've already caught the leaders.
One of the things you often see with damage, it makes a lot more of an effect on big open tracks, not just your big super speedways, it places mile-and-a-half racetracks that are quite fast, especially with these new downforce packages that they have in the Cup car, but the Xfinity car where you've got to lift off into the corners. As soon as you're reaching high speeds, damage has a big effect. But at Daytona and Dega, it's really prominent, unless you get it in an area where being in the draft enables you to overcome that issue, and then you can still hang with the pack. The issue you've then got to work with is if you pull out and try to lead a lane, you then may find yourself showing your lack of speed a little bit. So you've got to be very clever about how you race when you've got a bit of damage in super speedway racing. And, well, the 7 on back battle was forward away again.
I'm wondering if, in saying that, just looking at their live speed there, around about 7 or 8 miles an hour faster down the back straights. They might have just had a couple of guys that needed to get a little bit of air back into the car. If they had been doing a little bit of pushing, and now they're going for a second run, going to try and run the outside, maybe they might be able to clear all the way to the lead here. This is a pretty important fight too, because remember we are fighting for stage points, so we're 6 laps away from the next caution, the end of lap 17. So pretty important to try and get yourself as far forward as you can to get those stage points, especially if we have another big one. That might be the only points that you can get for the whole day.
How interesting is that? They were at least 5, 6, maybe more car lengths back heading onto the back straight last lap. Heading onto the back straight this lap. The top 2 cars from that group are now leading the race. And Trent Ringler did the fastest lap on that previous lap. Isn't quite able to clear Sean Powell though. Now, did Van Elsdal and Ammerman go down low? No, is the answer to that. Oh, no. Ammerman's decided he wants to lead the race outright.
That could have been a heating thing too. He might have found that the car was overheating a little bit and had to get out of that line, being so close to get some fresh air in. And also with that little bit of damage, may want to see how much of an effect that damage has when he is at the front of the field too. That could hamper his top speed, even being pushed by someone behind. Like pretty evenly matched for pace though, with his teammates on that outside line.
So Ammerman leading a lane with his damage. You know how I said it might highlight any weaknesses you've got? Well, right now, he's doing a good job. But I'm looking at how easily Sean Powell is sucking up to his rear bumper, and I'm wondering if Powell is being held up. It's through the corner, they're not making much ground, if any, on the outside line like they should be. So I think Ammerman, he's not quite got the car to power and punch the hole in the air for an entire lane. So he might have to follow cars for the majority of this race. And you can see how Sheldon Adkins, who was 3rd car in line down low, has said, I don't want to be there anymore. But ultimately the outside lane's fizzled out and he has no choice but to go back down low. The joys of Super Speedway racing, to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a fair bit of luck involved when you're racing in these super speedway races because, as you said, you've got to find yourself in the right place at the right time. You've got to find a gap to get into the right lane at the right time. Time your run to get into the right lane at the right time, which is nowhere near as easy as you would expect as well. So a few of these guys are now starting to work out where they can go, what lane works for them, what lane works for their setup as well. As you see, Sean Powell now comes to the outside for the first time. It looks like he and Sheldon Atkins are going to work together and try and get themselves back to the front of the field.
Coming to 2 laps. Coming to 2 laps to go here to our stage 1 conclusion. And Van Osdol at the moment in prime position for maximum stage points. But here comes an outside line with the momentum again. Sean Powell leading it with a big push from the 82 of Sheldon Atkins. And look at that, almost clearing into turn 1. Look for the massive run they're going to get off the exit of the corner here. If Atkins can stay glued to that rear bumper of the 61 in front, should get a big push down this back straight. Here it comes. But Ringler doing a good job down low as well, keeping himself right up behind Van Osdol.
I say there is a lot of wheel work when they're that second car back. As much as they're trying to keep the car straight, the turbulent air is just making the cars move around so much, even when they're in good condition. So some of those guys, like the 4 of Ammerman, are going to be really struggling with damage to try and make sure they keep the car straight when they're running as the second or third car back to try and help these pushers along on the outside run.
Last lap of stage 1. Van Osdol's gone to the top side to cover off Sean Powell. And that allows down low the 26 to lead this race for a moment. Trent Ringler off the exit of turn 2. The car's being buffeted around by the turbulent air. They're all trying to line themselves up, square to the bumper of the car in front as well. All that wheel work right there as Van Osdol gets an awkward push from Powell into turn 3 for the last time in stage 1. It's looking like Trent Ringler right now, but they've got to get all the way back past the tri-oval. Ringler clear by a couple car lengths over the outside. Nowhere for Ammerman to go behind him. Outside's coming back. Here comes Van Osdol with a big push from Powell. Van Osdol with the momentum. Van Osdol's going to win stage 1 here at Talladega.
Wow. That was a really, really good late push there to get that stage win. So Van Osdol, I believe Ringler did get second place and Ammerman in third as they now get themselves back into order. That was a really, really tight run to the line too, but Van Osdol just timed that run perfectly, got a very, very good push on the outside row. It'll be interesting now to see who comes in and takes tyres. I would think everyone will come in and get fuel. Some of these guys that pitted under that first caution for tyres won't go tyres this time.
The ones that stayed out will take tyres,
Yeah,
I would say, and expect everyone in for fuel as well. Van Osdol, Ringler, Powell, Ammerman, Adkins, your top 5. Christopher Cornell, Nathan Rue, Roger Plott, Matthew Benson and Ian Culp, your top 10 there at the end of stage 1. It was Sean Powell with the big push to Van Osdol that pushed him to the win of that stage. And that's a dress rehearsal for the end of the race in about 65 laps time. Now they know just where they can come from to get their nose in front at the line. And they've seen that the outside works very nicely.
I think that might change some of the psychology for a few of the drivers, because most of the time you see the inside line is where you want to be and running the inside to try and get the momentum to the line, but amazing how much push there was, even from the exit of the tri-oval, how much overspeed there was on the outside line there. So yeah, the end of the race is going to be very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out and who can work out which line to be in at the right time. A very, very open race seeing that now.
There's pit lane. Very easy to get into pit lane under caution. Under green, if we get green flag stops, which I have a feeling we might do, because we're definitely going to need to pit again before the end of this race. It is extremely difficult getting the car wound down from 200 mile an hour, especially with other cars pitting with you, as everyone files into the lane, led by Michael Van Oldstall, who took the pole, fell back a little bit, but ends up winning stage 1. Can he carry on with it?
Uh-oh.
Oh no, he's carried on a bit too far into his pit box.
He carried on, but not in the way that you were meaning. Now,
A lot of fuel
a
only.
couple of drivers, we had a driver, sorry, the 05, missed his pit box. He'll have to come back in again.
So Van Oldstall went fuel only.
Yeah, Cornell as well. Powell took tyres. Powell, Atkins, Rue, Benson, Bruno all took tyres. Ringler's come in, get more damage fixed from earlier on. He's coming back out now.
The
Brian
10
Castle,
car still sat there.
he's come back in again. He did get back out there just before we got back
He
under
is,
caution.
10 laps down.
10 laps down,
It's-
so...
Not much damage on his car. It's a bit unfortunate, actually, isn't it? He must have popped an engine in that first wreck to end up that many laps down with that minimal damage on his car. Either that or he's got magicians working away at his pit bay. So Mike Agerbroad, you said missed pit lane.
Yes,
his
drove
pit box.
straight down the pit lane, if I could get my words out. So he'll have to come back in again, you would suspect. He's not going to stay at the front. Not when
Can't get your
every
words
single other
out.
car has pitted.
Can't get your words out. Need more energy. Gearhead coffee.
I might have to get some.
Do you like that plug?
Very good. Very good. Trained you well.
I wouldn't call it a train. I wouldn't call it training. More belligerent nagging. So, as you can see, Jay and I have a love-hate relationship. He loves
Definitely.
me, but I hate him.
That's definitely the other way around.
So expect Eigenbroad back down pit lane here, and that'll leave Ammerman as our race leader, managing to jump Van Oldstall and Powell in that pit stop phase. Christopher Cornell also jumping Sean Powell there.
Tyler Justice coming back in and get more damage fixed and right on cue. You're brought in.
How about Tyler's paint scheme? What's he rocking out there today?
I'm
My
not sure.
broadcast feed's too grainy. I can't see that, Jay.
I can't work it out either. I need my glasses on.
Can you?
Might have the motion blur settings set a bit too high, I think. I can't work it out.
Freeze frame.
Muscle
the
cars.
The one
Matrix
time.
muscle cars.
There we go. It's a good looking livery, isn't it, though? That's what I did notice when I saw it earlier. Clean. A lot of people overdo their liveries, I think, sometimes, but that one that Justice is rocking is nice and clean, and what we like to see. Alright, so lights on the pace truck are out. We're going to go back green this time by. It will be just shy of 60 laps to go. Might be able to make it a one more stop here, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Pit on lap 50. You could even push it to lap 55 if you wanted to, I think, based off our estimated fuel numbers. And then you can get home to the end, which means the drivers that stayed out earlier on will have an extra set of tyres up their sleeve if they wanted it for a late race restart, should we get it.
Wouldn't be surprised if we do get green flag pit stops in the next run. When we do get them, the guys that pitted under that first caution might just take 2 tyres. The guys that have got full sets of tyres available would just take all 4. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Not much difference when you're taking a full tank of fuel to taking 4 tyres. So sometimes just do it knowing that coming the end of the race, you've got the potential to win that back as well. Don't forget, we can't discount the possibility of green-white checkers as well.
Three attempts at that green-white checkered finish, should we need it. Pace truck, get out of there. We don't want you here. Go back to pit road. Let's unleash the horsepower once again as we go up through the gears and foot to the floor. We're back racing at Talladega. Good jump of Brian Ammerman. Van Oldstall going to slot in behind him, maybe? No. Yes, make up your mind. You can't afford to get caught in two minds like that. You've either got to go low, you've got to go high. As soon as you end up caught between a lane, someone can hit you very awkwardly, and that's what triggered the mess.
Yep. Only just enough room there. A little bit of sportsmanship there from Cornell. Just leaving enough of a gap because you can see that there's a little bit of indecision from Van Osdal. So left that room, but I must say that Sheldon Atkins looking very, very strong. He's gone straight to the outside to help Sean Powell and push him forward as well. So some very, very quick drivers, and also seeing Matthew Benson come into this for the first time as well. Started to work his way forward, and now that outside line starting to help push those guys forward as well.
Very tightly packed on this restart, I must say. They got grouped up very quickly, and they've stayed glued together for the rest of that first lap off the restart. Sean Powell leads us now through the corner. Should lead us into turn 3 as well. The top side momentum with Van Osdal is looking like a very reliable and solid pusher right now. He is staying very neatly behind Ammerman's car. But the one thing he's going to have to watch out for is he's boxed in down there. So if his engine starts to overheat, he's going to probably struggle to get some air into the front end of that machine.
One advantage he's got though is Ammerman being teammates with him. Ammerman can move half a lane up or half a lane down on the straights just to give him a little bit of air, as he's doing right there. So that might be all he needs, just to get a little bit of extra air into the engine to drop those temps down enough for those big hard pushes when he needs, as there's a little bit of pushing going on through the corner. That can be dangerous sometimes. You really have to trust both drivers and understand each other and practice that as well to make that work. Not easy to do.
Sean Powell decides to filter backwards, and that's going to allow Adkins the lead of the outside line, and Powell will have to tuck down behind Trent Ringler, it seems. Yeah, he's able to get down on low there. He might go all the way to the bottom of the racetrack if he wants. He's got a gap to do so right in front of Mike Bruno. Next car to pull out of the train is actually Matthew Benson. Yeah. He gets in front of Powell.
It looks like those two might be wanting to work together a little bit as well, so they might even be going to think about seeing if they can get a third line working for later on in the race. This is a sort of phase now, 60 to go, full tank of fuel. This is where you start to test a little things, get yourself a little bit of clear track, test out a couple of things, see if they work, and then you bring yourself back into the pack and see if they work with the pack as well. But they might be just looking to see if they can make a third line work for the potential need later on in the race. But it looks like the outside, when there's a decent run of cars together, can work well, as Cornell just made a little bit of a late decision to jump up just in front of Sheldon Atkins. Atkins was aware, luckily.
I mean, he was clear, there was no issue there, but he was certainly leaving it to paper width margins, which is what you need to do to get the job done at a place like this. And I've got enough confidence in the ability of these drivers. There's some massive I ratings in here, which has been declared by many as to not always translate to skill, but I think with these drivers it does, and they can afford to make those close shave decisions. As Cornell, decision worked out well for him. Look how clear he got down the back straight, and he's actually staying loyal to Adkins, maybe trying to drag him clear as well. But Ammerman, Van Osdal, dynamic duo down low, continuing to link up very nicely.
I say that livery of Cornell, very, very cool, with Tasmanian Devil on the side. Love a bit of Looney Tunes action. Didn't work through turns 1 and 2 though. couple of cars that are just trying to hold on to the lead lap. We got Mega Broad after his late pit stop, and Swenson, they're a long way back, about 8 seconds back, but the top 12 all in this pack, and Tyler Justice out there by himself at the moment, just trying to hold on to the lead lap as those lead guys have been able to jump down. That includes Nathan Rue. Sheldon Atkins staying high.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers right now are just riding around and biding their time. Just to make sure they're there at the end of the race.
He's just testing different things, isn't it? A lot of, like,
yeah.
You just see there, Hal's gone up to the third line just to see if there's anything out there at all, and it looked almost like Benson was going to go out there for a second too, but he stayed in that second line. But a lot of testing, a lot of feeling things out as Adkins drops down to the bottom line, and those guys behind Plot and Culp have, I think they're probably just perfectly placed just to stay with this lead group, but not fall away and lose the draft altogether. What, half a second back? I think that's about the perfect margin where you're out of trouble if something happens in the lead group, but you're not dropping from them.
Yeah, I tend to ride at the back for a lot of the races because a lot of the time you can count on there being a wreck. It doesn't matter how good the field is. 99% of the time there's going to be one. We've already seen it though today. So is there going to be another one? I wouldn't hedge my bets quite so much on there being another big incident. So while you hang back, you've got to make sure you do not lose the draft, and it all depends on what drafting package they're running out there on these cars. That's an interesting exchange. Now they're 3 wide, and poor Nathan Rue's got no one to help him. He's stuck in the middle and going backwards. I feel like there was a reference to be made there, but I don't quite know what it was I was missing. And luckily for him, the outside just evaporated.
Are you going to say something about his ruining that issue of being stuck alone? I don't know. I'm sure there's a pun to be made with his surname later on in the race.
Probably. It wasn't what I was going for, and I hate you for it now. Because now I can't stop thinking. Yeah. While that outside evaporated, he actually had Trent Ringler get up and push him. So that actually saved him a little bit of pain. And now Cornell is going to utilize the pushing services of Nathan Rue. They both get clear, but Rue, maybe not looking to be too aggressive early on, decides not to follow Cornell down low. That, or he's just happy to be up top. Could be running a bit of extra tape on his car, and it works nicely with clean air.
Benson's come back in to get some more damage repaired. Hopefully it wasn't a tyre an engine blowing or anything from that damage. Hopefully it's just a little bit of cosmetic work needed to be done. The car was overheating a bit too much. Hopefully it hasn't got to the point where he did pop an engine. These guys are starting to get a little bit more aggressive. You notice the intensity of this pack has picked up a lot in the last 2 or 3 laps.
You mentioned the engine blowout. The worst engine blowout to get is one where it slowly goes after you've had a wreck, and it pops about 20 laps later. At that point you think, cool, I'm clear. And then suddenly you get the fright of your life when the engine just goes bang. What did I hit? Yeah. Oh, that's right, I crashed 20 laps ago.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Cornell, wow, he drifted up the racetrack, and Ammerman tried to sneak beneath him and the yellow line. Cornell quickly covered it off, and Nathan Ruse emerged at the front of the field as Adkins went to the middle, and Trent Ringler says, hell no, I'm going back there, boys, or it's safe. Look at him. Look how far back Ringler's gone. All the way to the back of the train.
Yep.
That is very much a, I don't want to be in a wreck this early incident situation.
Just, happy to drop back and say, yeah, this is getting a bit crazy for me at the moment. I'm going to drop back. Hopefully some cooler heads prevail and we'll go again soon. But he's dropped a second. Amazing that a second is 10 places in this race, though.
Highlights how important nailing your pit stop is, because you can very easily lose a second down on pit road under green flag.
Tyler Justice goes a lap down, so he will get the lucky dog if we do have a caution in the next little while. He's the only car a lap down because Swenson has retired the car. Brian Castle, Dakota Earman, Callum McNichol, and also Travis Manning all retired from this race. So we've only got 14 cars running now.
He'll be the lucky dog unless Mike Egerbroad also falls a lap down before
Yeah, that's right.
A caution might come out. And Justice has not been able to glue onto the lead pack. Looks like he's suffering just a bit too much damage to do that. So he will be praying for a caution before Egerbroad gets caught by these cars, which is an inevitable. They're running at about 200 mile an hour. Egerbroad's running at, I think, about 190.
The lap time's what's about 3.5 seconds a lap slower, so it won't take long for him to get passed by these guys. But they got single file for a moment, but very, very quickly, Ringler decided he didn't want to be part of single file and a second back in 10th. Now he's starting to get that outside line working and bring himself up to his teammates. Will we see one of them jump out, that being Ammerman van der Zijl? Nope, they're all going to stay single file for the moment on that inside line. No one's coming out to help.
You know who've been riding right at the back and making no intentions of moving forward and keeping a nice little buffer while staying with them? Roger Plott and Ian Culp.
Yeah,
They're doing a very good job. Leaving a gap to the cars in front, so if there's a wreck, they can avoid it.
Ian Culp, the only driver to do a 49-second lap time. So he's the fastest car on track in regards to one lap pace in regards to getting draft as well. But
was that done in the last 20 laps since the restart?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So, happy sitting
Shows you
back.
how quickly you can gain when you're back there and you decide, all right, now it's time to go.
The only other driver to get close to that marker was Roger Plott. So those two, when they work together at the back of the pack, can close that gap up very, very quickly. So I think they're very, very well placed for later on in the race. They know what to do in regards to how to close up that gap very quickly. The only downfall is they haven't done a lot of pack racing in this race. So if they do get themselves to the front or right at the front and have to do that aggressive pack racing, are they prepared for how aggressive it has been? Because it has been a very, very aggressive run from almost everyone in this top group. I think Benson's probably the only driver that hasn't really driven aggressive in this lead group at all. Maybe
And he's
Jason
riding
Laney as well.
around in 7th, isn't he?
Yep.
Tell you what, Mike Bruno, doing a pretty good job without that rear bumper. Hanging on.
Be a bit like a parachute though if he was the lead car, I would guess. I think being 3rd or 4th car back, it's not too bad. He can hold on to the pack, but if he gets hung out to dry and then stuck on the outside with only 1 or 2 cars, or as the lead car, I think he might be in a bit of trouble. But where he is at the moment, he's happy just sitting there. It doesn't look like he's got any intention to make any moves or anything either, which is often a good sign, often a sign that you can just hold on to your position and are happy to sit there and wait and watch and see what everyone else is doing. So sitting in a nice spot. We're under 50 to go, by the way, so we're on lap 37 now.
Looking at Bruno's car, we all know damage equals bad and slower times. Apart from those very rare occasions, maybe you bend in a fender and it dials in some oversteer and helps you rotate better through the corners. But, most of the time, damage is bad. What I've never understood is how the rear bumper affects the airflow over the car and makes it slower. Because it's out of the air.
Often the way the air flows over the car, though, it does come down the back, or it can often be turbulent air then gets stuck in underneath that bumper. So not necessarily the air that comes from over the top of the car, it's the air that comes from the side of the car then gets stuck into that and could force the car to slow down. So it's not always about the air that's coming over the top of the car, but rather the air from either underneath the car or from down the sides of the car.
You'd better hope there's not much air going underneath the car.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there still would be with how low those front splitters are. You can see actually a little bit sideways coming into the tri-over there was Mike Bruno. So things aren't quite as smooth. But Cornell's got himself back up into the lead now. Nathan Rood also got himself up towards the pointy end as we're 3 wide at the front.
So Ringler wanted to go to the top and drive around Cornell, but Adkins didn't want to commit to being up there. So he decided to go push Cornell, and that leaves Ringler to go backwards. So it looks like he won't be able to rely on Adkins to help him late in this race. You'll bookmark that for later on, probably.
Yeah, a lot of drivers will remember what's going on at this stage too. You go, hey, you didn't help me then, I'm not helping you now, when it comes to the pointy end of the race. So, yeah, a lot of drivers need to think about that as well. They need to work out who they can work with, who they're going to refuse to work with later on, and keep that in the memory bank for later. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who can work with each other, because often you find yourself not around your teammate. As much as you try and be with your teammates, it doesn't always happen the way you intend.
46 laps to go. We are on lap 40, expecting stops in the next 15 laps. Critical lap probably coming up at about 15 laps time as well. As Cornell again clears the low, but can't do anything about it. Now, it looks like there's about, I would say, 12 cars that could win this race on pace. Mike Egerbroad in 13th has damage on his nose. It's hard to gauge his pace while he's riding by himself.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of damage on his nose. That's really going to hurt him, even if he gets back on the lead lap.
Yeah, we'll be hoping he can hold on when these guys come through. If he can keep up. The big disadvantage that the guys have that not in the lead group, Egerbroad and Justice, is that pack isn't a very big pack, so haven't got much chance to actually get their speed up to hold on to the back of the pack. If they were all in single file, I think it would be a lot easier, but the fact that they're only 2 lanes of 5 cars, I don't think there's enough time to gain speed with just that minimal amount of cars and hold on to the back of the pack. At least with damage.
Yeah. Justice, far from maybe being able to catch up to Egerbroad once he goes a lap down as well and fight for the lucky dog spot, is not far away from going 2 laps down. There's only a little ways ahead of Egerbroad on the racetrack, so he's really slow. That damage is really affecting him quite badly out there. Egerbroad will probably get told to move up top when those laps cars come, but he's not obliged to do so. He can take the low line, and he may feel that would give him the best option or best opportunity to latch onto the lead group. I've seen it done quite a few times at the top level, but he will take the Donovan Lee approach and go to the top side of the racetrack, which will be much appreciated by literally everyone in the field. It's so much easier to get around a car when you're not having to move an entire pack up a lane to get around them.
And he's not going to be able to hold on.
Speed disparity, yeah.
Now sitting in the lucky dog spot. And Tyler Justice will be now hoping that there's no caution for a little bit.
If you had a clean car right now, you'd be able to latch onto the draft and tuck back up. And unfortunately, that car
might be okay.
He's latched on. You're right. Right, so he's there or thereabouts.
That says if we do get a caution, if he gets the lucky dog, he might be in a spot where he can hold on to this pack. Tyler Justice just has to go as many laps as he can and hope that a caution comes out when he gets his lap back when everyone else has come in the pits. That's the only way he can get back into it at this stage.
Unless he goes another lap down.
Yeah, well then he's in big trouble. Which he's about to do right now. He just did. Whoop. Sean Powell didn't see him there for a second and almost ran into the rear of him. So, Sean Powell was in that third lane and then all of a sudden saw that there was a slow car of Tyler Justice and almost made contact with him.
Maybe blinded by the sun. Egerbroad. I feel like Egerbroad's fading here. His car's good, but it's missing that last 5%, I think. Um...
26 laps from when the drivers last pitted, 41 to go, so probably looking, what, 8 laps you would say? Given what, 34 laps to the tank, Give them 33 laps to home. I'm going to say they're going to pit within the next 8 or 9 laps. Of course, they did get that advantage of having an extra 2 laps under caution, so this stint can go a little bit longer than the final stint. I reckon almost everyone is going to pit on the same lap or within 2 laps of each other.
Yeah, you generally don't see too much of a difference in terms of what laps to pit in these scenarios where you're coming up on the lap where you can make it home and you're already stretching your tank pretty much to its capacity as it is. You would expect you want to go as long as you can, though, because you never know. You might need all 3 green light check-in attempts, and if you do, that can be a lot of extra miles on your tank. So expect drivers to go as long as possible here. And I have seen the overcut this year work generally more often than not in Super Speedway racing.
Yep. It's a little surprising, but just the amount of time it takes to get up to speed if you get yourself out of the pits and get yourself up to speed. I just thought those guys are about to pit because the way they moved in unison there. Like, no, that's too early to pit, but 40 laps to go, or 39 when they cross the line, means that we're getting into that phase now where drivers are really starting to think and strategize around where they're going to do it. Interesting too, I just noticed in the back of shot there, Igabroad has got himself ahead of Plot and Culp in that secondary pack. So Igabroad is now starting to work with those guys to help them hold on to the lead group, because Plot is starting to drop a little bit.
I don't think Plot's too concerned right now. He's still probably able to close it up. The big telltale sign generally of when pit stops are close is when there's the great migration down to the low side. I don't think I need to tell you that pitting from the top is a bad is a bad idea.
Yeah. I think we've still got those 3 or 4 cars happy to sit on the outside line. So we're still a little bit away, but we're getting closer. About to come up to 30 laps complete on this stint. 30 laps from when they pitted under the caution for the end of stage 1. Also saw that there was an extra car there, the 82. Sheldon Atkins got himself to the outside.
Wow.
For the first time, we've actually seen Matthew Benson really work hard to push another car to the front. He's been there to maintain the position. But he's actually starting to push.
Just got?
Yeah.
Went from the low side, went to the middle, and passed a bunch of them. I see reverse. My favourite move at Daytona and Dega is coming off of turn 2, being up top, and then pulling to the middle. You get the benefit of exiting from the top side with more momentum, and then you get the benefit of slipstream from both lanes. And more often than not, drivers give you the room. You just power through the middle of the pack. Beautiful. I love it. But he did the opposite there. Went from the low side.
For the first time all day, Matthew Benson is at the front of the field as a lead car in a group. So in a line, he's been second or third car back all race long, or further. And I think we're at the point now where everyone's trying to work out who they're going to pit with. You can see almost getting themselves into 2 or 3 car groups. Make sure that everyone that they're going to want to pit with and come out of the pits with are all together. Atkins now leads.
4 tyres and fuel. There's not really any point not taking 4 tyres, is there? Because 2 cans of fuel, which you need to get, is the same amount of time as 4 tyres.
Effectively the same, around about 13.5 to 14.5 second bracket. So you might as well do both. The only reason you wouldn't take tyres is if you've got a little bit of damage that you want to get fixed. But I think at this point you might as well just do it. If you're holding on to this lead group as it is, you might as well take the 4 tyres. And if you can get 5 seconds of damage fixed while waiting for someone to work with to come out of the pits, then you can do it. But for the most part, you're just going to do fuel tyres, get out as quick as you can, and hope that the person you're pitting with didn't get a speeding in pit lane penalty. There's bound to be one of those, isn't there? Going to be a speeding and pit lane penalty somewhere between these 14 cars that are in this group.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to pick up on. Obviously, there's no pit lane speed limiter in NASCAR competition. So you've got to manually manage your speed down pit road. In every car, that limiter doesn't work as a brake. You've still got to get the car slowed down. But in these cars, at this track, that is such a hard task. Running the smallest brakes you could possibly run, because you're on a super speedway, and then getting a car slowed down from the fastest speeds it runs all year to the measly walking pace of pit road.
Here's a bit of teamwork going on here. Just notice Sean Powell dropped all the way back behind Mike Bruno to make sure that he could get back up to that lead group. Those 4 cars at the back there, all now in single file to try and close themselves up to those lead group. So they must have just dropped behind that draft range to hold on. About 0.7 of a second, Roger Plott behind, but now they're starting to close that gap back up again.
Tell you what, Eagle Broad could be in a pretty good spot if the caution comes out. If caution comes out. He'll be praying at the moment. They're all single file. So, I'm going to say pit stops in the next 2 laps.
Yep, I agree.
We have made it 32 since we restarted.
Yep.
33 to go. I reckon not this time, but next time by.
I reckon some teams just thought about it for a second there and were waiting to see if anyone would jump. They were ready to go if someone else jumped, but nobody did. But I think this next lap, this is going to be the one. Puts us at 32 to go, 35 laps in this stint so far. With 2 caution laps, that works out to about 33 laps at full speed. I reckon we're at the point now where someone will come in. One car jumping into the lane will start a chain reaction of every single other car.
Thing is, you can't react really to the car in front, because you need to make sure you're finding your own lane to brake in, so you're not hitting the guy in front of you.
Here we go.
Hey, we got some takers. Just call with a profit, why don't you?
And it looks like they've all slowed down at the right speed. So Ringler, Ammerman, Benesol, so all of the teammates together in the FSR group, all pitted together. I mean, no surprise to see that they've all pitted together in regards to team group. I think the next team group will see together all the Gearhead Coffee sponsored cars, that being Benson, Powell, and also Bruno. Those 3 together, I would guess, will come in this lap. Maybe everyone else as well.
It's not often I get strategy right.
I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't going to say it.
So they've all set out an extra couple laps. They're going to run the tank completely dry here. And I think that is... Well, I think the max they can probably do is another 2 laps. So they're either going to come in this one or the next one. I don't think those other 3 will have pitted too much or too early in regards to before their tank runs out.
I agree. I think they would have ran it as long as they could. Remember, they have done a lot of leading those 3 cars as well, so they may have used a little bit more fuel being the lead cars. They did alternate between the 3 of them, but those 3 were probably 3 of the cars that you could say out of everyone were leading the most laps, along with maybe Sean Powell as well. Another thing too, though, this helps these guys out there still that are continuing on. They're going to go another lap. This helps them if there is a potential for a green right checker. They could be thinking about that, making sure they've got extra fuel just in case we do get 1 or maybe 2 attempts at it. That does occur. These guys are in a much better spot than the cars of Ammerman, Vanisol and Ringler.
Well, those three cars pitted 33 laps into the stint with 32 laps remaining in the race, which, yeah, suggests their tank was nowhere close to dry. Because you would not leave it that close in terms of fuel range if you didn't need to.
Looking at their pit stop times, it looks like they may have, been a little bit short. May have still had a little bit of fuel left in the tank. Especially when you see how many laps these guys are doing. They're now going to do another 3 laps on top. But pit stop times under 13.5 seconds says to me that there was still a bit of fuel left. And may not have even taken 4 tyres. It might have only taken 2.
The interesting thing here is, I reckon by going this much longer, it might negate the advantage the overcut may have had, because it allows those 3 cars to get up to speed together.
Yep.
By the time these next group pits, those early stopped cars will be up to speed.
Looking at their pace, their matching lap speed or lap times absolutely
quicker.
identical. We've got 1 taker. This
That's
is not
that's
ideal.
bad.
It's not ideal. 1 car alone when.
So
in the
now
race
those
itself.
3 pitted, they're lapping quicker than Adkins.
Oh, we've got 2 together.
So now the advantage has been handed to the undercut.
The Ringler, Ammerman, Venosdol. If I get it out. Look, I'm hopeless at names at the best of times. My apologies. But these guys are looking in a good spot now. Like, I think if that other group, as you said, pitted maybe 2 laps ago, they'd find themselves in the better spot. But look, this is what's going to happen to this secondary group potentially. Rue and Eagle Broad are going to miss out big time right here. Or are they? Maybe we might have to eat our words here. This is going to be a lot closer than I thought.
It is, but yeah, there they go. Ammerman and Nathan Rue were side by side for a moment, but now Ringler is able to clear them.
Still going to hold on to that group though.
He
Which I think is
might.
the important thing. I thought that he was going to get absolutely overrun midway through turns 1 and 2, but it looks like he might just be able to hold on as here we go. Next group in. Look at them all.
Bit of a lock up for one of them, but overall looks like they've all got down there nice and cleanly. Now, the important thing is that they're all going to fire off together. If a couple of them have issues on pit road, that will stop that from happening and could make them all quite slow coming off the lane. All of them taking tyres, as expected.
No surprise there at all. The first time I've really seen Plot and Colt working aggressively in regards to bumping to try and work themselves into a position where they can get this extra lap. No surprise these guys have done an extra lap as well, considering how far at the back of the field they were. Atkins is out as the lead car, was the leader coming in.
He's got a little really gap though, back to Lanny, yeah.
Yeah, the 77 here of Lanny, he has been someone we've hardly talked about because he's just been sitting back, watching, waiting for the right time to go. And have a look at these guys, they're all going to be together once they get up to speed.
Yeah, they're going to gobble them up here.
Yep.
So there you go, undercut works well for those guys because the overcut was so many more laps longer. Yep. You could think, oh, they've got so much fresher tyres and they're right there with them. That doesn't have much of an effect.
But the big bonus that they've got is they can all work together to close that gap up. They are within draft range. They are now up to speed, so we'll see how quickly this gap closes between Adkins and Rue. We do see that Nathan Rue has held on to the back of that other group, but it has not worked out for Ian Culp and Roger Plott. They're late 1 lap extra stop is not going to work. They're going to lose the draft, drop a lot of time.
But the group is all together. And with 24 to go, it's a sprint to the end now. Adkins straight to the top to push Nathan Root. Van Osdol, Ammerman, and Ringler are down low, and Lanny has got to their back bumper as well. Matthew Benson joining the party. Mike Bruno still in the mix, minus his rear bumper. Sean Powell, and then of course Mark Eagerbroad. Hanging on, but still a lap down. Really hasn't worked out well for Ian Culp, Christopher Cornell, or Roger Plott.
Yeah, Cornell's a surprising one because he pitted the same time as that big group of cars, but he's dropped a long way back, trying to push Ian Culp up, but I don't think they've got enough. They're too far back now, around about 1.5 seconds. They'll need this lead group to fight aggressively and lose pace, but I must say they've all been pretty good at maintaining pace when they have been fighting aggressively, so unlikely to happen. But you never know with these races, strange things can happen. Super Speedway racing is never done, you never know what to expect.
He once won a Daytona 500, nothing gets stranger than that.
100% right. I've won a race, full stop. That's a surprising. Just when we said that Cornell was out of it because he was too far back, bang, fastest lap of the race.
Maybe he's perfectly far back. Right in the range for a golden toe as Nathan Rue says, give me the lead. To the middle, he pushes Ringler up top. Adkins gives him some help, and Van Osdol becomes unattached to the back of Ammerman, which means that Rue could have had a good run, but Adkins fell away from him. I reckon he saw the little bubble down low and just lifted off his own throttle, just to make sure there wasn't an incident if Van Osdol came back up the track.
I think we just saw a little preview of what we're going to see with 5 to go when the guys start to try and fan out and work themselves forward. I think that was just a...
Oh no, there it is! Contact and up into the fence. Benson gets collected as well. Van Osdol with damage. Lanny got a piece of it. Cautioned out for the second time for an incident.
Because Atkins and Ammerman getting together there. Unfortunate, but you sort of felt something was happening there than that previous lap. Something was going to happen. It was getting a little messy, a little bit spicy. Have another look.
Looks like Ammerman and Adkins both came towards each other for a moment. See, Adkins enters pretty high, then comes low for a minute. Then Ammerman just drifts up a fraction, collects Benson. Cornell got a knock from Adkins as he came back down the track again. Don't know how this car stacked up after that.
It's a strange one. They both sort of just drifted into each other, didn't they? It's Hammerman got a little bit loose and drifted up the track, and Adkins just drifted down a tiny little bit. A few cars involved, but other than Benson collecting the wall, everyone else may have got away with that relatively unscathed. We'll see a few drivers in the pits, no doubt, but Benson looks like he was the worst hit. But in saying that, the car still looks in reasonable condition. I'm sure it'll be down on pace though, unfortunately.
$20 to go. We're going to have a restart with less than 20 to go.
Seeing too, the damage on the front of the car looks a lot worse than what we saw from the rear, so maybe a little bit more down on pace. Fingers crossed the engine hasn't had any knocks to it and hasn't affected the cooling and things like that. He might still be okay to hold on at the back of the lead group. Ringler looks like he's in trouble. He may have just done an engine.
And that'll be his day done.
Caution.
Yeah, Cornell coming to a stop as well there.
Oh, they're just waiting.
Oh, no, I think Cornell had to let Adkins go, yeah.
Ringler's back going again, but you notice there's no front nose, or sorry, no Wood, no bonnet on Ringler's car. Across these guys can get a fair bit of damage repaired under this caution. A few guys taking tyres because they've got no real choice. That could leave some drivers with no tyres left to take later on in the race if we do get another caution.
I mean,
Probably not that big a deal.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of an issue at this point.
In saying that, if they have to brake aggressively to avoid another caution, that's damaged another set of tyres. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen, but that is a potential to ruin yet another set. With none left, that could cause some big issues as Giga Broad finally back on the lead lap.
It's the break he was waiting for, and crucially, he wasn't caught up in that caution. So he gets a lucky dog and is back on the lead lap, and he can fight for this one. Mike Bruno, meanwhile, is Emotion's second. Remember when I said at the start of the race, we've seen stranger things than a wrecked car win at a super speedway? Well, can he win without the back of his car needed? Sean Powell will be sat there in third looking at that car thinking, how on earth?
Sean Powell will be probably not too upset. I mean, that is his teammate. They're in sister cars. But, I mean, he'd be upset to see a damaged car ahead of him, but when he sees it's his teammate's car, probably won't be as upset. If that was a different team car ahead of him with that much damage, that would be very disappointing to see, but I don't think he'd be worried about that. It looks like Benson still getting damage fixed. Fingers crossed he can get out down the lead lap. Sheldon Atkins also still stopped. Trent Ringler, though, got back out, and I don't think he's going to have too many issues around cooling the engine for the rest of the race. Maybe Speedy will, though. How do you think drivers are going to approach the race from here on? We're going to see aggressiveness, maybe another caution, or we're going to see them settle down a little bit and wait until 5 to go before they get aggressive again?
I think, given that there's only a handful of cars that are clean, we'll see drivers just trying to navigate their way to the front here relatively calmly, and then we might see the chaos erupt towards the last 5-10 laps.
Nice, we've seen Ian Culp all day do P4. Actually, we technically saw him in second for a lap when he was pushing around of Roger Plott, who's just starting right behind him at P5.
Hanging back, hasn't worked out well for him and Roger. We're lining up
time
together.
To shine now.
Yeah, 4th and 5th for this restart after starting 17th and 19th and running outside the top 10 for most of this race.
$17 to go when we restart. Still 14 cars left in the race. Sheldon Atkins has gone a lap down. He's taken an extra lap to get out with his damage getting repaired. Matthew Benson did get himself out on the lead lap. Bonnet, that hood has been repaired a little bit, so he might be okay.
$18 to go, 17 to go on the restart for the third time today, coming back to the green. Field on the hands of Nathan Rue. Mike Bruno to his outside. Green flag is back out, underway once more from Talladega. Good start from Nathan Rue. Mike Bruno's going to have to find a hole to slot into because Sean Powell got a good jump from third. And Ian Culp is going to get by Bruno as well here.
I think Bruno might get left behind here because these guys are going to work aggressively to try and clear themselves and get themselves up the road a little bit. But Colt, Roger Plot right in this now. See that Bruno not able to hold on because it's definitely a little bit down on pace. Ammerman straight by.
He just can't get up to speed at the moment because no one's pushed him and he had no
true.
draft. As soon as he got in line, he's now holding even, but all those guys behind him saw the damage and went straight to the top to get around. Now they're realizing, hey, his car's not that bad. He's now holding station with us down on the low side. But 4 cars up top are going to clear him at some point as we complete our first lap back under the green. 16 laps left to go in this race. Here's a move up the front to the outside. Sean Powell gets to the right rear quarter panel of Nathan Rue. Nathan Ammerman going to get to his bumper.
Surprising thing for me right here is Trent Ringler, 26 car. He is holding on. Pace still looks good even with that damage to the car. So again, another car that looks worse than it actually is pace-wise. As long as it's the car behind, I think it's okay. If he gets to the front of a pack, it might be in big trouble.
Four rows deep, 2x2 here. The top 9 have broken free of the rest of the field, so 9 cars that can win this race, I'd say. Barring something miraculous, if you're Jason Lenny. Unfortunately, Mark Egerbrod's been dropped off the field. I wonder if he got caught out having to start behind all the junked up cars and fell away as a result. Ammerman got really close to the back of Power coming off turn 2. Wonder if he wanted to go to the top side, but he had no momentum to carry with him. Decides to stay in line for now. On what we refer to as a top for now, but it becomes a middle if someone goes any higher.
I can't see with the number of cars left that we'll get a three lines working until maybe 3 or 4 laps to go, but that outside line still maintaining the pace that we saw early on. Track's starting to cool as well, so that could affect how these the lines actually work, whether the outside line is still going to be as dominant as it was early on. I must say it's still good pace because Sean Powell almost was clear enough into turn 1 to be able to cut down to the inside, but he's decided to stay out wide, or stay up high I should say, but he's going to get left hung out to dry. 3 teammates on the outside. FSR guys all working together to make the outside line work. 3 wide.
So Ammerman did want the top. This time he carried on with it. Then Osdale went with him and so did Ringler. But Cornell went to help Powell, and that very, very top of the racetrack just doesn't have the speed available to make it work with only 3 cars up there. So they fall back. Have to rethink their strategy. Top 2 single file. Side by side for 3rd. Roger Plot down low. Powell and Cornell up top.
So those the guys in the FSR team working together, they are in a tough spot because they've got great pace. As you said, that 3rd row just didn't have the momentum or didn't have the pace with only 3 cars in it. They get maybe Bruno to help push as well, but then again, Bruno being teammates with Sean Powell may not want to help those guys as much either. So yeah, interesting to see the team dynamic here playing out too, because well, the 3 cars working together, the 4, yeah, 83 and the 26, they just can't get the momentum to get one of them to the front of the field at the moment. Between Powell and Rue for this moment, that could change very, very quickly because Cornell is doing a great job pushing Sean Powell right now.
Here we go. Van Elsdorf tried the topping again to the right-hand side of Cornell. No one with him.
Ammerman just can't get there, like we saw when Ammerman was the lead. That 3-car train couldn't get there, and he couldn't quite get to the tail his teammate to get that run either. So that looks like they might be thinking now, let's push this middle line clear and hopefully one of us can drop down in front, or both of those guys drop down in front. There we go. Now they've only got one car to clear before they're at the lead now. So this might be the way that those guys get through. Sean Powell now leads. He's now ahead of Nathan Rue on the inside.
Ten laps to go when we come to the line here. They're all just working themselves into the place they want to be as Van Elstol goes low and Powell at the very same time goes up top. That was not a good call because the top line lost all its momentum when he went up there because Van Elstol aborted it. So now Nathan Rue is able to get to the inside of Powell. Whoa, and Cornell just finds a gap in front of Ammerman.
I don't think there was a gap there without Ammerman getting out of the throttle a minute amount, and then he comes back across and he's got ahead of Powell. Wow.
Well, he's making decisive moves, I'll give him that much.
Got great judgment on whether he's clear or not as well. I'm surprised at how close that was. That was incredibly tight. He, as you said, he just making those decisive moves at the right spot at the right time. Able to get through it. Looks like we're down to 6 cars that can potentially win this race now.
Yeah, Ian Culp and Roger Plott have ended up off the back of these guys again, with Mike Bruno keeping them company. They're hanging on, but they're not quite there. Oh, outside gets an awkward little push into the corner, which is not what you want to see.
Rosedale just a little bit clear, but not quite clear enough to drop down. I think that's the plan, though. Try and get enough momentum, drop in front on that inside line. But I must say Nathan Rue's done a great job of holding that position, making sure that he doesn't drop away once he's passed. Looked very, very smooth, but right on cue. Rosedale through. But Cornell's looking really strong as well, so he and Powell have worked together very, very well. Of course, Powell was getting pushed for the most part in this stage, or in this phase of the race, I should say. But Cornell now might get the momentum up to be able to clear and get to the front as well.
Look at that car looking, showing the nose to the very inside, starting, no, maybe not, that was Ammerman. Cornell and Powell still working away up on the top. And now Nathan Rue's going to go up there and get a push from them. That leaves Van Elstol, Ammerman, and Ringler lined up down on the bottom side. But a good push from Cornell. Going to push Rue to the line as the lead car with 7 to go here at Dega.
Oh, here we go. Look at that. And they both cut down to leave Sean Powell out to dry all by himself. Powell's got nowhere to go. Where does he drop in? There's no room. No one to help him.
Whoa.
Hey, Cornell's come back to help. I think Cornell thinks that he and Powell working together is the best combo for him to potentially win the race.
Cornell and...
Nathan Rue finds himself in a really good spot to do whatever he wants, though. Because he seems to find himself, able to time the run to get back up to the top with Cornell to get that push and get himself forward on the outside, and then can cut down and hold these guys up on the inside. Saying that, oh no, this is getting, oh, that was so close. That was dicey there.
It's still close. Ammerman's not clear of Cornell.
No.
Cornell did not want to let him get in line there. In the end, he just had to edge the car up and let him in. Van Elstol to the front. Rue slots back to third. Still, Cornell and Powell find no progress together.
I think Rue needs to get up on that outside and help those guys together to get those three together, because I don't think Ringler is doing too much I mean, he's there, but he's not able to do as much as three
Here we go.
cars at full speed, full throttle. No damage that could together. And look at that momentum that they've got coming into turn one, that being Cornell and Powell.
See,
Five to
Rue
go.
went up there, but Cornell drove around him.
Yep.
And that meant that Rue said, okay, I'll go back down low.
Yep.
Still Plot and Culper hanging on. Could be in the prime position if there's a wreck that breaks out in the last lap.
I think they're just happy sitting there and watching at this stage.
A couple of cars, Benson and Adkins, go up down, keep him down to the apron. There needs to be more cars up top for it to work. Now Nathan Rue goes up there. Cornell's got to stay behind him and just at least push him forward a little bit. Now it's 3 cars versus 3 cars. It's an even fight. Always thought you need more up top than down low to make it work, though, and Sean Powell decides to go back to the bottom. I don't understand that.
I think he's just gone back down to the bottom to try and get some momentum, and then he'll come back up to the top, coming into 3. Yep. Wanted to get a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, he's not got much of it, though.
No.
He fell off the back of Cornell at a really crucial moment. Right as Rue got up there. And now Van Alstol goes to the block and Rue drives around him. So Van Alstol goes back down to the bottom. Cornell staying committed to the 20. They've got the run as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say that Powell had some great speed too, but he had to check up a little bit as he went down low because they did check up a tiny little bit. He would have had to just ease off the throttle. That's enough to ruin the momentum. And look at that, Nathan Rue to the lead of the race on the inside.
Cornell now with no hope. No help. No hope for now. He falls like a rock. Powell gets to his inside. And now they've all gone to the top. And Powell's going to charge through on the bottom. And he's going to have to give a big push to Nathan Rue here. It's just the 2 of them down low. Van Alstol slots back to the lead. Ammerman and Ringler up top ahead of Cornell.
Ammerman was sideways there from that bump from Ringler as well. So they just held on. Lost a tiny little bit of momentum. 2 laps to go.
I feel bad for Cornell. He's been up top for so long, but he
There he
keeps
goes.
finding himself with cars in front of him. Now he goes to the low side. Can he do anything with it? He's certainly got more speed than those guys up top, but he had to check up, and here comes Culp and Plot.
Yep.
And Sean Powell's going to go up and get some of their help. Now they're 3 wide for 3rd. Top 2 are still clear of the field, though. Coming back to the white flag. They move up top. Van Alstrom moves to cover. Can't do it. Ammerman comes to the middle. 3 wide through the tri-oval. White flag. Will it fly? Because they're wrecking. Caution's out. Green-white checkered. We were half a second away from making it back to the white.
Wow. That was a crazy, crazy phase of the race there. That looked like what you would have expected the next lap without, rather than coming up to get the white flag. That was just a crazy incident.
So, yeah, Nathan Rue was going backwards up top. Sean Powell decided to go to the inside of Ringler and Cornell. Took them 4 wide. Those guys had no idea about it. And, you know, just a gap that wasn't really there, but coming to the white flag, probably a move you'd expect to see. So that takes out 4 cars. It looks like Colt got a little piece of that as well. Plot got through unscathed, and that leaves Powell, Cornell, and Ammerman to fight. And Plot as well, if he can finally stay glued to the lead group.
I think Powell will be a bit upset with himself there too. It was a gap that was there, but it was closing very, very quickly. And as soon as he went to show the nose, the gap had already gone. So he'll be pretty upset with that. But more upset will be Minozdol, Rue, Bruno, Culp as well. same plot and Colt was starting to finally come right at the last stage of the race. It's led to nothing. Ringler comes in, his car's looking even worse than it did before. Colt also in, damage on his car. Nosdale also in, fair bit of damage on his car. Nathan Rue also in, damage to the car, fairly heavy damage as well. Sheldon Atkins is coming to get a bit more damage fixed. Lucky Dog goes... Who did it go to?
Race car.
Go to a race car. Yeah. Matthew Benson.
So, now they have to do it again. And most of those drivers, they probably thought they were about to have 1 lap to go. Now they've got to go through the process of another restart and at least 2 more laps under green. So, you come back to the green, you have a lap under the green flag, and then you come back to the white flag. The caution comes out before you get the white flag, as happened there. Stack them up and try again. 3 attempts we have at that. We get back to the white, then we race back to the checkers no matter what happens.
Ammerman, Cornell, Powell, probably the 3 that are left in this now. You'd think the way that Cornell has worked race and worked with nearly everyone, he would have to be one of the favourites at this point. But then again, not many cars left are going to have the pace to be able to run an outside line. So he does have that disadvantage of being on the outside. Ammerman is in the perfect spot right now with only 2 laps to go green.
The thing for him is going to be making sure he doesn't get too much of a gap off the restart, because if he does, that field will catch him very quickly.
It's one thing about these races, you don't want to jump too early, do you? Because the momentum can mean that you get absolutely overrun. So, unlike other circuits on oval calendar, jumping early is fine and perfectly acceptable. But with the way the draft works at super speedways, you do not want to be too far ahead on the green flag, because you just get absolutely run over. Under green. Here we go. 3 laps left in this race. Hopefully.
Yeah. Potentially. Can we get there? How many cars can still fight for this one?
Miller's got back out there. Rue's got back out there. Nosedall's got back out there. Benson now only 1 lap away from being on the lead lap. Sheldon Atkins looks like he come back in to get even more damage fixed, but get the green flag this time. Not too many cars that have no damage on their car. I reckon Cornell might be the only car. Cornell and Plot, the only 2 cars that don't have any damage on their cars at all.
We've seen Ammerman has been able to fight, though.
That fresh damage, though, from that last incident.
Does he?
Front right.
No. He's had that since the first incident.
Got a little bit of damage from that, obviously, with making that contact. 8:46, both looking strong in regards to how much damage they have, that being 0.
Hey, Mark Egerbrod's got a chance again.
He's the best he's been since the original start of the race.
This time he's not behind everyone. With the lucky dog, he's able to restart in his position in 6th. Pace truck peels off to pit road. Green-white checkered attempt number 1 from Talladega in the XSRL Gearhead Coffee Cup. Brian Ammerman in control. Up through the gears. We're back racing. Can we make it back to the checkers this time? Good jump from Cornell. Glued to the back of Ammerman. Sean Powell's got no help at the moment, but now Roger Plott's drifting towards him.
Powell needs a bit of help on that outside run, but Cornell looking strong. It's pushing Ammerman down the road. Is he going to be able to get enough momentum from pushing to be able to pull out and get a move done with no help? He nearly has to get there perfectly when Powell's just about to get there. Get the momentum around the outside. He might nearly be able to do this. Fingers crossed we go white this time. Will we get the white flag?
Racing back to it. Cornell and Ammerman broke away a bit on that lap, but now they're being caught by the field. Bruno to the back of Cornell. White flag is in the air. One more lap at Talladega. And Bruno goes up top. Does Cornell go with him? He thought about it. I think Ammerman's trying to block him here. And Sean Powell is sucked up right to the back bumper of Mike Bruno's car. Ammerman goes up top. He lets Cornell have the low side. Is that the right call? Neither of them have help at the moment. They've squeezed up in front of Plott. Bruno and Powell right on the top of the racetrack. Ammerman falling backwards. A bad move from him has given up the lead of the race, and Cornell's got it through 3 and 4. He's got Mark Egerbrod right behind him. No way. To the outside. Here comes Egerbrod. Here he comes. No. Up into the fence. He wrecks. And they're wrecking to the line. Mike Bruno. Bruno got it, I think. I think Bruno got it by 0.02 of a second over Ian Culp.
You said earlier on that anything can happen and damaged cars can win at Talladega if they're in the right spot at the right time. We'll talk about that. Absolute perfect momentum from Bruno. Unfortunate for Cornell, the contact with he and also Egerbrod there. But wow, Bruno has held on all day and has pulled out a miraculous victory from nothing. Lap 17, when we had that comp caution, you would not have thought that this car would be anywhere near the podium, let alone taking the victory. Congratulations, Mike Bruno.
I thought Egerbrod had it for a moment.
He had the momentum on that outside run, but just that contact put him up into the wall, and
what
Bruno
a recovery that would have been.
Oh, unbelievable. But again, another perfect recovery from Mike Bruno as well. That was a fantastic drive, and Mike Bruno wins race 1.
Wow. He actually got hit as well by Egerbrod as he bounced off the safety barrier, but didn't size momentum down enough. And Cornell tried to come low, but ran into Laney down there instead. And Culp almost came through and parted the seas. Almost went from 6th to 1st from turn 4 to the line. Black victory burnouts? That's weird. Shouldn't that smoke be white?
So I think it's the lights, because there's no actual lights at the Talladega circuit. So I think lighting's affecting the burnouts, but incredible victory and well done to Mike Bruno on victory in round 1.
Let's go through our full results. Mike Bruno wins by 0.02 of a second over Ian Culp. Christopher Cornell half a tenth away in 3rd. Sean Powell picks up 4th ahead of Brian Ammerman in 5th. Mark Egerbrod picks up 6th ahead of Trent Ringler in 7th. Roger Plott 8th. Nathan Ruin 9th. Michael Van Osdol in 10th.
And races of what might have been for Jason Laney. Matthew Benson finishes 1 lap down in the end after that incident with about 20 to go. Sheldon Atkins as well, 3 laps down. Tyler Justice held on after being caught up in the big one early on in the day. 14th position. DNFs for Swenson, Castle, Ehrman, Nickel and Manning. 19 cars, but what a race. What an absolute fantastic event. We're going to have a very, very quick break, and then we'll be back, fingers crossed, with some post-race interviews as well.
Well, back to Talladega Super Speedway, and that's what the winning car looks like. Not too bad from the right-hand side, but the back of it looks a bit second-hand. In the end, it is a job well done. And he gets the win despite being caught up in an incident earlier on in the race. Right place, right time on that final lap. He began the final lap in third place. Coming off of turn 4, he found himself with a clean run to the line after Eagerbroad got hit checked out of the way up into the safer barrier. They started to wreck, and he was the one that emerged victorious, just trying to grab him in for an interview here. We can't seem to get him into our actual broadcast booth, which makes life difficult when it comes to dragging people in so you can chat to them. But Jay, in the end, I think a very good opening race of the season. The big one took out a few cars early on, but we still had enough left for a very good run to the end. We almost got there. The green light checkered made sure we did.
It was a really interesting race and so much strategy for. I think because there was less cars than a lot of drivers would have expected, it made the strategy even more crucial. So as soon as there was a bit of strategy involved, yeah, the drivers then had to work extra hard to make that strategy work. As it looked like we might be able to get drivers in for interviews. Fingers crossed we can have them now. Ryan, let you see. Yep, good to go.
There we go. Mike Bruno, welcome to the booth. Congratulations. They pulled off what seemed like an unlikely victory for most of that race.
Oh my God, that was amazing, insane, unbelievable. But
Man,
thank you very much.
Yeah, that run to the end was phenomenal. You had a bit of damage on the back of your, a lot of damage on the back of your car. How aware of that were you, and how much was it affecting you?
Oh, I was well aware. I was being constantly reminded by the guys going around me instead of pushing. But as much as I had, it didn't seem to affect me as bad as I thought it would be. As long as I had somebody behind me pushing, I was okay. As soon as I lost that guy, I'd kind of fall back. But just right place, right time there at the end, and I'm still in disbelief.
Yeah, I questioned at one point how the aerodynamics were actually affected by something on the back of the car. Turns out not much, it would seem, because you just had enough in it. You weren't leading at any point until the checkered flag. How many laps did you actually lead in that race? Because it can't have been that many.
I think that was the only one, to be honest.
Hey, there you go. If you're going to lead a lap, that's the one to lead. So it starts off your season very well. It's winning you're in, isn't it, for the playoffs? So, well, you've got that wrapped up now.
Yeah, that's a huge weight off our shoulders for sure. Definitely going to be cool just to kind of cruise and not take it easy, but just to kind of race for fun and know that we're sitting in a good spot for the remainder of the season here.
Most certainly. Hey, you can't get these results though without a good team of people around you and help from the likes. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done today?
First off, thank everybody in the race. That was a ton of fun. Everybody did a great job. Thanks to Dakota, Chris, all them guys for putting this league on. Thanks to my team, Phase 2 Motorsports. I couldn't have done any of this without any of those guys. They helped me big time. Great team. Sponsors, we got Matrix Muscle Cars, Gearhead Coffee, Amsoil, and big thanks to Sean Powell there at the end, my teammate, for pushing me there, and several other people who helped me out throughout the race. Jason Lanny, big shout out. Thanks again to everybody. That was an amazing race.
Thanks for joining us, Mike. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you, bud, and thank you guys in the booth too. I forgot about that one.
No worries. Thank you very much. So Mike Bruno takes out the win at Talladega. Coming home in third was Christopher Cornell. P3, man, you almost had it, Christopher.
Yeah, feel a little bad there. I door banged the heck out of someone there coming to the line. But, yeah, I thought I had it, and I was hoping that he would move up the track a little bit, but he held his ground, and, man, I feel a little bad about that one. But we're just trying to put on a show. You know, it was the first race that we had streamed, so I thought, besides the car count there at the end, we did pretty good.
Yeah, that was a fantastic run to the line there, both times around, because you were only a couple meters away from making it the first time around. You disappointed with that? Happy with that? Looks like you would have finished 4th, I think, if the results had stood. Maybe even worse off because they did wreck. So I guess that pretty much record works in your favor.
Yeah, I think I would have been if he would have crossed the line there and got that white flag. I think I might have been in second, and it looked like he had some damage, so maybe I could have done something with him there. But I'm just happy that we put on some sort of show, and you're kind of worried when you come to Talladega and it's the first streamed race, so you're just trying to hope that we can not embarrass ourselves out there, I guess, tell you the truth. So, no, I'm happy with it. It was fun, and it's just fun to race with some of the top B open guys around. So, no, I'm very happy with it. It was a good time.
It was a lot of fun to watch, and I think a very good race at Dega to be expected. That was a big one, but it didn't stop the fun. Who do you want to thank for helping you get up there today?
You guys, of course, SimSpeed for doing this for us. I really appreciate it. And then we didn't work too hard on the setup this week, to tell you the truth. But Dakota Ehrman is the guy that really has buckled down and started getting into the setups, and we've shown a lot of speed, especially on the 1.5 miles. So we're looking forward to get to one of those. And yeah, just appreciate everyone coming out. And if you're tuning in and you guys want to join, look us up, and we'll definitely consider you for the future races.
Hey, we look forward to the next round of the season. Good job today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Christopher Cornell comes home with a P3. And Tyler Justice joins us as well. Tyler, it's 14th in the end. It was just an attrition race for you, wasn't it? On the back foot from pretty early on.
Yeah, it was for sure. Kind of unfortunate. I wanted to have a strong performance here in the Matrix car there. Just didn't pan out. Ended up getting caught up in an early wreck there. Actually didn't see what happened. Everybody started getting jostled up there, and I ended up getting in it and got, I think it was like 2.5, almost 3 minutes of damage. So we went back out there and tried our best to keep as many laps as we could. And you never know what's going to happen at these plate races, so maybe you can gain a few positions here or there just by kind of stay out on the track there. But we did what we could and got 14th. So I mean, wish it could have been better, but overall glad we could keep it in the game for our sponsors and just try to gain as many points as possible heading into next week.
So, in terms of your race, you come to these tracks expecting the big one, don't you? So, were you thinking to yourself, I'll stay up front, stay ahead of the drama, stay at the back, stay behind the drama? Did you have one of those plans in place and it didn't quite go to plan, or did you execute the plan and it still didn't work out?
Well, typically, the mindset I like to have coming in the plate races is just drop to the back and just kind of ride it out and wait for that first big one to happen. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. I mean, we tried to put together a good qualifying effort. Ended up 6th, so we were kind of close to the front. So I figured we'd try to race for a little bit, and it didn't seem like anybody was making any crazy moves. So we decided to stay up there, but like I said, unfortunately, lap 4, I mean, we probably didn't even have a chance to drop to the back if I wanted to. It was so early, we got caught up in that. So, like I said, normally try to stay in the back, but we already qualified up there, so I figured I'd try to get some TV time up there for a little bit, and then unfortunately, we wrecked pretty early. So, just glad, like I said, to at least stay out there and try to get what we could, and we'll do better and head on to next week.
Hey, well, who do you want to thank for helping you out there today and moving forward as well?
Definitely thank Matrix Muscle Cars for being on the car tonight. That's a new scheme. I was getting out there on the track tonight, so definitely want to thank them. Thank Gearhead Coffee as well. Thank Amsoil. Thank everybody who put this league together. I think this is going to be a fun one with all these guys. It's a top competition and be open. So really looking forward to the weeks to come, and especially thank you guys for broadcasting tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Good job today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Tyler Justice there comes home with the P14, unfortunately, early wreck, end of his race. But that wraps us up for today, round 1 of the XSRL Coffee Cup presented by Gearhead Coffee. And next week, we head to Charlotte, to the Oval, for some more good action there, returning to the normal style of racing you'll see in the Xfinity Series. But make sure to go and like some Speed TV to stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts, and check a like to Gearhead Coffee as well over on Facebook. But for tonight, from myself, Ryan Jones, and Jake Kennedy alongside me, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?